Messages stopped after that, in my opinion. I don't know though. And they mute it so we can't hear what's going on. All right, so this will be right after their lunch break, guys. And we're almost caught up to them too.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant, you had an opportunity, obviously, you read them, so now you've familiarized yourself with that series of text messages that you received from Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes.
Would you, I'm going to ask you the same question again. Would you consider those text messages as you reviewed them when you received them from Brian Higgins as being flirtatious or romantic in nature?
I would not categorize them to that extent. Certain parts of it might be, but the total conversation, if you want my opinion, I can provide you with it.
Was there some flirtation in the text messages that you noted?
There are terms that I used. You're hot, witty, stuff like that. You know, talking about banging and hooking up.
What word would you use to describe them if not flirtatious?
The totality of the conversation?
Sure. Let's start there.
My opinion is that it's a angry girlfriend trying to set up a hookup to her John.
To her jump?
To her John.
To her John.
Yeah.
Would you consider the responses from Brian Higgins?
So you're going to make that jump, but you're not going to say that it was flirtatious. You're going to make a jump that big, but you won't say it's flirtatious. Are you serious?
To be flirtatious in nature.
There are conversation parts that are enticing, maybe a little of advances, but the totality of, to put a label on the whole thing, my opinion is that she's trying to get revenge.
Get revenge?
Yes, get revenge.
Why did you make that jump? You seem like you've already drawn an opinion here, sir. Damn.
On John?
Yeah.
For what happened on New Year's Eve?
Yes.
Okay. When you say revenge,
it sounds like you're trying to give the jury another motive.
I mean physical revenge.
Well, emotional revenge. She's trying to hook up with Higgins and
She's
then
the only one trying?
Hurt John by cheating on him.
And in fact, you did note that John O'Keefe was not privy to these text messages, right? Objection.
I'll allow that. Do you know that?
I do not, Your Honor, no.
He's not on these texts, is he?
I don't know if their accounts are saying to this point. I don't know if he's seen them. I don't know.
He's not, his phone, you know what his phone number is. He does got his phone, correct?
We do have his device, yes.
Do you have any evidence that his account was somehow, I don't even know if that means synced with Gary account?
Not from his device, no, but he could have seen the text message.
Okay, so there's no evidence that he was synced. His account was synced with anything, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
There's no evidence.
You were facing the other way, I didn't hear.
There's no evidence that his account was synced with anything.
Not his device that we have, no.
And you don't have, as you sit here, you don't have any evidence
No,
whatsoever that he
Brian.
saw any of these text messages, correct?
We don't have that, but I do not know.
Okay, so as you sit here, my question is very simple. Do you have evidence, affirmative evidence, that John O'Keefe ever saw these text messages?
I do not have evidence that he saw them,
Okay.
no.
So would you agree that the text messages show a romantic interest, for whatever motivation, a romantic interest from Brian Higgins toward Ms. Reed.
You have to ask that differently.
In your mind, as you read the text messages, did you determine in your head that there was a romantic interest by Brian Higgins toward Karen Reed?
In my mind, I saw the text messages for what they were, initiated by Karen Reed, and began a text message conversation with Brian Higgins.
And Brian Higgins was responsive to those text messages, correct?
They did communicate back and forth.
He was responsive to the overtures that Ms. Reed made toward him, correct?
Overtures.
Suggestions. Let's get together for a drink, come over to my house, I'll come over to your house, things of that nature. Those went back and forth between the two, correct?
Yes, they were back and forth. Yes.
And did you determine that there was an interest by Brian Higgins in Karen Reed?
I read that he repeatedly asked her, what's her plan, what's her goal, what's her interest, what's her intent.
Did that show you an interest on his part, in her?
I think at one point he said he was confused, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or what's the term he used? He was unsure what she wanted.
He called her hot.
He did, yes.
Called her witty.
Right from the rip, yes.
He said he wanted to spend time with her.
Spend time, yes, yeah.
He was interested in going over to her house.
Yes,
He was interested in her possibly coming over to his house.
yes,
He told her that he thought she was hot, his words, from the jump, correct?
from the jump, yeah.
How did you interpret that?
From the jump, I would interpret it as right from the beginning, maybe the first time they saw each other, laid eyes on each other. I mean,
As a matter of fact, he basically said that, didn't he? In the text message, from the first time I saw you, I thought you were hot.
yes.
Yeah, we just.
Um,
yeah.
He constantly was using phrases, to use your words, phrases interested in knowing how she felt about him, correct? Objection.
Sustained. You have to ask it differently, Mr. Johnson.
Did you interpret any of his text messages as Brian Higgins being interested in knowing how she felt, what she was thinking about him? Objection.
Ask it again.
When you first saw these text messages and you reviewed them, did you interpret those text messages in your mind? That's what I'm interested in your mind, as Brian Higgins being interested in knowing how Karen Reed felt about him.
Thank you for letting us know what they're doing, but please, guys, no spoilers.
I believe his statement indicates that he was interested in seeing what her interest was, what her intention were, and questioning the
Thank
fact
you,
that
Monica.
she's dating live-in boyfriend with his buddy.
Thank you. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Guys, I see some of y'all saying this. This is an interaction type of place. If you guys don't like me talking, then you may as well just go watch it yourself on YouTube.
He used the word ghost several times, correct?
I do recall reading the word ghost.
How did you interpret that word? Objection.
Thank you so much. I saw that. I appreciate it. Oh, okay. Got you.
I interpreted ghost in the common slang terminology as to abandon conversation, stop communicating.
He indicated that 2 different times in the text string, correct?
I know I read the text messages, but reading them out loud to a room full of people, I might not have remembered how many times the term ghost came through.
Fair
I was
enough.
concentrating more on the reading, not of the comprehension of each word.
Fair enough. But you did note that he used that term in his text messages to her, correct?
I think I
Why is everything like pulling teeth with this dude?
recall at least once that the term ghost was present in the communication.
Did you interpret that? I'm looking for what was in your mind. Did you interpret that, the use of that word by Brian Higgins, as showing some level of frustration at her abandonment of the conversation?
No, I did not.
Not at all?
No.
I don't
Have you
even
ever
know what
heard
to
the
say.
phrase, "you ghosted me"?
Yes.
How do you interpret that phrase, just in general?
I've heard it communicated between other people. I've never used the term ghosted. I think it's a little after my time in communicating with others, but I take it as you stopped responding to my text messages.
Do you take that, do you interpret that, or did you interpret that as a positive or a negative comment? You ghosted me.
I interpret it as a matter of fact, like you stopped talking to me. I never thought about it in a positive or negative connotation. I never gave it any thought.
As
For the
you,
love of God, will somebody pass the truth serum and we gotta pour it down his throat to make him just give any honest answer for once in his damn life?
sit here now, if you do give it thought, would you put a positive or a negative connotation on the phrase, "you ghosted me"? Objection.
Sustained.
You're aware that, based on the text messages that we just saw, there was a series of text messages that went back and forth starting in mid-January and basically ending around January 23rd, correct?
This chain of text messages began in January 12th and ended January 29th.
Right. I'm going to get to the 29th, but the back and forth ended on January 23rd, did it not?
Are you guys asking if Higgins was married? He used to be, but he's not married anymore. He was married, he's divorced, no kids.
I don't recall as specifically. I can leaf through it and tell you what it is. I know I read the dates out loud, and again, I was concentrating on reading.
No, she isn't, but that's not what she's on trial for.
Do you have the document in front of you?
I do.
Could you turn to the last page?
Yes, sir.
I believe it's the last page. It may be the second to the last page or something.
The texts were between Brian Higgins and Karen. Is anybody wondering why Mr. Jackson had us go through all that? I don't see how that helps Karen. Catnip, ask your husband why he made us go through all those cringy text messages.
Do you see an entry on January 23rd, 2022, a text message from Brian Higgins?
Freezing.
Thought you were all set.
Yes.
And Ms. Reed responded with talking?
Yes, he was at the
Question
house
mark.
that night.
No. Period. Correct?
That is her response.
Mr. Higgins then responds, with 4 N's behind the H. Correct?
That's correct.
And then he responds again. By the way, did Ms. Reed respond to the
No, she did not.
And then he follows up with, "you sure?" with no punctuation. Correct?
That's correct.
I just wanted to make sure y'all were on the same page because, I don't like to be the only one that makes the points.
Did Ms. Reed respond to "you're sure"?
She did not.
The next text is on January 29th at 11:32 p.m., correct? I'm sorry, January 28th at 11:32 p.m. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Is that from Ms. Reed or from Mr. Higgins?
At 11:32 p.m. on Friday, January 28th, it is from Mr. Higgins.
That's all I ask. And now, can you tell the jurors what that text is? And then the next text immediately after it.
Well,
So between January 23rd and January 28th, would you describe Ms. Reed's side of the conversation as having ghosted Mr. Higgins?
No, she initiates the conversation. You had me read the second text message in the chain.
Between January 23rd, when that last text message was sent by Brian Higgins, until January 28th at 11:32.
I don't know.
Would you describe that as Ms. Reed having ghosted Mr. Higgins for those 5 days?
Strictly looking at the text message communications and not knowing whether they.
Correct. I'm not asking you to speculate. I know there's other stuff you want to say. I'm asking you just to
heard that
read,
too.
but just to answer the question I'm asking. Based on the text that in front of you, Sergeant Buchanan, does it appear that Ms. Reed ghosted, as you define the term, Mr. Higgins, from January 23rd until January 28th?
One could read into that in that manner, yeah.
And then on January 28th, Sergeant Buchanan, when Brian Higgins sends, well, did Ms. Reed respond?
No, she did not. They were together at the same location.
Did she respond to the text?
On that day?
Correct.
Not on text message, no.
You said they were together. That means that Brian Higgins was together in the same room with Miss Reed when he sent his text, correct?
Yes.
And she ignored it, didn't she?
This is a state police officer that was the supervisor of Michael Proctor, who was in charge of the investigation.
Existing.
You also
Possibility.
received from Mr. Higgins certain text messages between him, Mr. Higgins, and John O'Keefe himself, correct?
Yes, we did.
And one of those text messages, one of the last text messages that they exchanged was, as a matter of fact, the last text message that was exchanged was Brian Higgins at 12:20 a.m. on January 29th, 2022, texting Mr. O'Keefe, "You coming here?" with 3 question marks, correct?
I would have to take a look at the document. I don't have a memory of it specifically. I know I reviewed it, but
Now, do you see why we went through the text messages? Because after all of that, and it ends with Brian Higgins getting ghosted by Karen, he texts John O'Keefe asking if he's coming to the house. That's why we were put all through all this.
I don't have a memory of the time and content.
No, I don't, Marlene.
May I approach you on?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. No worries.
She sure did. She sure did text him, yep. Every sip he takes is before something like this. No, it's not the first time he's seen him. Yes, Jen and Higgins both texted. One said, "Are you coming to the house?" And one said, "Where are you?"
Based on this extraction, I cannot definitively say that this text message was sent on January 29th because of the file source time and, and the JPEG being so small. I can't testify to that, sir.
May I approach?
Yes.
No, Louis, they were not.
Your Honor, Mr. Brennan has kindly offered to stipulate that the "you coming here" text was sent. I would offer the following stipulation: that the "you coming here" text was sent on January 29th at 12:20 a.m. from Brian Higgins to John O'Keefe's phone.
I
Quote,
do
"you coming
Parker.
here," 3 question marks following it.
What was the time?
I'm good. 12:20 a.m. May we enter that stipulation with the court's permission?
Sure. So, jurors, you've heard that the lawyers agree that that fact is true.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. So you were aware of the timeline on or about January 29th when, first of all, Karen Reed had not responded to a text message from January 23rd throughout January 28th and into January 29th. Sorry,
Yes,
throughout
April.
January 28th by 11:32 p.m. or so. She just not responded. Correct?
So the text message that she sent to Brian Higgins, the last time she sent a text message was on the 23rd.
And he responded with several text messages to which she did not respond on January 23rd, right?
I believe she sent 2 and he said 3, I believe.
So the answer is yes. There was a text message that she sent, that he sent to which she did not respond. Is that right? On the 23rd.
He was the last one to send a text message on the 23rd.
Thank you for the
That
follows.
was following multiple text messages back and forth between the two of them, spanning a couple of weeks. Correct?
Yes.
Then, on January 28th, 2022, Brian Higgins is at the Waterfall Bar and Grill after 11:30 p.m., right?
He was.
Karen Reed then walks into that same Waterfall Bar and Grill, accompanied by her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, correct?
They did.
Thank you, Mary.
Brian Higgins then texted Karen Reed, who's standing in the room, correct?
Correct.
And Karen Reed ignored that text, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Karen Reed did not respond to that text.
There's no text.
Brian Higgins then, no less than an hour later, texts John directly, "You coming here?" with 3 question marks, correct?
Correct. It's been stipulated.
That is an accurate timeline of the events that we've just talked about, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're also aware of a call, your investigation revealed a call between Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at 2:22 a.m. on the 29th, correct? Objection.
Sustained.
Did your investigation reveal a call between between Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at 2:22 a.m.? Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Okay.
Sidebar. So Brian Higgins and Brian Albert had texted each other at 2:22 a.m. Please tell me that they're going to show that video. Please tell me they're going to show that video. If
Sergeant
not, the civil
Buchanan,
cuffs leaf blower.
Did you become aware during the course of your investigation, then I'll narrow the time frame, during the course of your investigation, that there were calls between Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at approximately 2:22 a.m. on the 29th?
During the course of my investigation, I was not aware of that. If you have a document that I can see, I can tell you if I've ever seen it before.
Did you seek to secure Brian Albert's cell phone to determine what calls he did and didn't make on
No.
January 29th or January 28th?
No, we did not.
Okay. In your experience, would a phone extraction, a cell phone extraction of Brian Albert's phone have revealed calls made and received in the time frame that we're talking about, the 28th and the 29th of January 2022?
If a phone is extracted, the records of phone calls being made and received would show those records.
You did receive information from Brian Higgins' phone, specifically the texts that he claimed he pulled off of his phone and gave to you, correct?
We received the text messages that I read today that Brian Higgins provided from his phone.
Did you seek to secure his actual phone for a forensic download or forensic mirror image to get the actual calls made and received or text messages made and received from his phone?
No, we did not.
Keep in mind, Brian Higgins has an all-access card into where the Sally Port and everywhere else that the evidence was kept.
At some point, this is just yes or no, at some point, did you become aware of a call between Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at 2:22 a.m. on the morning of the 29th? Just yes or no.
No.
As you sit here today, this is new information to you. Let me rephrase that. This is unknown information to you. You do not have any information about that?
Objection. Sustain. We need a time frame, Mr. Jones.
I realize that, Judge. That's why I'm asking it this way. As you sit here, are you aware of a phone call between Brian Albert and Brian Higgins at 2:22 a.m. on January 29th, 2022?
Look, you just shared that with me. I have no memory or record of seeing that it actually took place. I do not know.
Okay, so you've never heard that before. That was what I was getting to. You've never heard that before.
No.
Okay.
Liar. Where's our liar sticker at?
You indicated that you did not seek to secure Brian Albert's phone to do a phone extraction at any time, correct?
We did not try to get Brian Albert's phone for any reason whatsoever.
Did you get anybody's phone,
Did
sir?
you become aware during the course of your investigation that Brian Albert destroyed his phone?
I'd like to be seen. Objection.
Jurors, disregard that question. We'll decide that.
Brian Albert destroyed his phone? If that's true, it would be so shocking and Albert destroyed their phone. They also didn't separate them before questioning them either. Why? Okay, if it wasn't something on that phone, why else would he have to get rid of it? They got rid of the dog, they got rid of the phone, they got rid of the house. Well, it's our right to party, but you don't see us partying.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you. Did you become aware of a call that was made by Brian Higgins at 1:35 a.m. while at Canton Police Department?
I am not aware of that, no.
Did you do anything,
So-
sir?
you did nothing in terms of investigating any phone call that Brian Higgins did or didn't make while at Canton PD on the night or the early morning hours of January 29th, 2022.
We never sought to get Brian Higgins' phone. He was not
Why is that, sir?
looked at as a individual that we would need to get his information
Just say suspect.
for any reason at that point.
Even after you received and read all of those text messages between him and Karen Reed.
Correct.
And even after you became aware of the timeline that you just walked through, starting on January 23rd, going all the way into January 28th and into January 29th. You did nothing to investigate that.
We had the information that we had. We did not need to get his phone.
And the information that you had came from Brian Higgins himself, not from a forensic extraction, correct?
Yes or no,
The
sir?
extraction that Brian Higgins provided was a forensics extraction of his communications with Mr. O'Keefe and Karen Reed. We had Mr. O'Keefe's phone and we had Karen Reed's phone, so we can verify and confirm that those text message communications were accurate, unredacted, not deleted, and were true representation of what their communications consisted of.
And that was a representation made by whom?
The totality of it.
That was a representation made by whom? A person made that representation to you that it was fair and accurate. Who made that representation?
It wasn't a person, it was the extractions between the three devices.
Well, an extraction that you were handed on a device
Thank
by
you,
someone,
Theo.
correct?
No, I said that we had all three devices, and as I told Mr. Higgins in our interview together, I said, Brian, we have those two devices.
Meaning
If
John's
you,
and Karen's,
correct.
okay?
If there's anything deleted or altered in any way, we will have proof of it. So please make sure that you understand the magnitude of this situation. We're investigating a homicide. It needs to be accurate, and it was.
And you trusted that coming from Brian Higgins rather than simply getting an extraction from his phone, correct? Yes,
I trusted him, yes, because we trust and verified. And after verifying, the extractions were correct.
And following that verification of the text messages, did that raise any suspicion in your mind about any possible motives Brian Higgins may have relative to John O'Keefe?
Suspicions of motives? Is that your question?
Correct.
No, the evidence spoke for itself. The honesty, cooperation of all the witnesses
You've got to be
and
kidding me.
corroborating, supporting facts spoke for themselves. So I was not suspicious of his motives. The conversation was documented over text message.
How did this
Spoke
guy
for
get to
itself.
be a cop?
Supporting documentation, including a text message at 2:20 a.m., just minutes before John O'Keefe arrived at 34 Fairview from Brian Higgins, right? 12:20 a.m. That's one of the factors, right?
That's one of the factors that is part of the entire investigation, yes.
One of the other factors is John O'Keefe's body was found in the lawn at 34 Fairview, just
ATF.
just feet from the front door, side door, and the garage door. Correct.
That is when Mr. O'Keefe was found on the left side of the lawn, yes.
Let's just be honest. The reason he's sitting up there is because he got the short straw. He got the short straw for who this gets to be pinned on and all this. That's the only reason his ass is still up there. My opinion.
And one of the factors was you originally said that it appeared that it may be an incident involving a cocktail glass to the face. Initially, at least.
Based on verbal reports initially, That was a possibility. Again, it was before we spoke to,
Before a lot of other things happened, but initially, that's what I'm asking.
yes, initially it was a possibility.
When you saw John O'Keefe at the hospital, a big contusion above his right eye, correct?
That is not correct.
Thank you.
Just above his right eye?
That is not correct.
You did not see that?
His eyelids were swollen, not above his eye. And there wasn't a contusion.
Two different paramedics said that they saw what they described as an egg above his right eye. Well, let me ask you differently. Did you speak to any of the paramedics?
Yes.
Did they describe an egg above his right eye?
I'd have to see a report to actually
Oh, for the love of God.
be described as an egg above his right eye.
Did you notice a laceration at his right eye?
His right eyelid did have a tiny, tiny laceration.
Did you see a small laceration in his nostril on his nose?
A tiny, tiny laceration, yes.
You noted that
I don't know.
he didn't have any broken bones or fractures other than to his skull?
I did not know that. I didn't conduct x-rays or conduct the autopsy. I'm not a medical professional.
You didn't ask the doctors at the time you went and visited him and saw him in the hospital whether or not he had broken bones or fractures?
I don't believe they reported that.
And another factor that you considered was the fact that in the early morning hours of January 29th, 2022, around 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., there were no taillight pieces found at that location. Zero.
Thank you, Joe.
Consider that.
At what point?
On January 29th, in say 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Consider that.
Once we learned that there was damage to the defendant's right rear taillight,
Sergeant,
I could only consider at that point because I didn't know what I didn't know.
right.
We don't know, we don't know. We work with the evidence that's presented and we develop the investigation.
And the evidence that was presented at that time, Sergeant, was a leaf blower was used to search the area, the exact area that you described for this jury as being the area around the fire hydrant flagpole where John's body was, and no taillight material was found at all in the first searches. You're aware of that, yes or no?
Yes,
As a matter of fact, you're also aware that no taillight material was found until after that SUV was in Massachusetts State Police custody and sitting at the selling port in Kent. Correct?
Yes or no?
I believe the first taillight piece was found after it was in our custody. I don't know the exact time, I'd have to see it.
And the sad part is he was Michael Proctor's supervisor.
When you talk
It was more than mocking Christina. He wished Karen Reed would end her own life.
to when you talk to Brian Higgins, did you ask Brian Higgins about potentially seeing John's body when he left 34 Fairview and headed over to Canton PD?
Yes, I did.
You knew that at that time, say 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, there was about 0.2 of an inch of dusting of snow, right? Very light.
At that point in time, there was a coating. I cannot speak to the amount of snow that was on the ground.
But Brian Higgins told you in that interview that he didn't see the body because it was hidden by a snowbank.
Objection.
Did he say that to you?
I don't have a memory of that, Your Honor.
So far, the only person to lose their job was Proctor, and there's a whole list of the ones that should, and brought up on charges as well. I know.
Yes.
Take a look at page 3, the highlighted portion, if you wouldn't mind.
I thought they auto stopped. Janine, did you just come in asking straight shirt guy who is it? That is like the most random thing you could have said. I need more than that.
May I approach?
Yes.
That's the question, Liz. That's the question. Well, the former chief of police lives across the street from him, and he happened to be one who just drove by and saw one of the pieces of taillight just sitting there from the road.
Does that
I
refresh
know
your
about her.
recollection that Brian Higgins said something about a snowbank at the time when he left 34 Fairview?
He stated the reason he did not pay attention to the grass is he was concerned with his snowplow on his vehicle and was not paying attention to anything over the snowbank, just with the plow in front of him as he operated the vehicle.
And of course, you knew at the time, as a detective and an investigator, you knew at the time that with the dusting of snow, there is no snowbank. Right.
He mentioned plowing the driveway for the Alberts before when he arrived. So there might have been coating and he was just plowing it and then creating a line. I cannot speak to how much snow was actually being plowed with the dusting that was on the ground. So there might have been a small snowbank. Again, he was referencing it. He was not paying attention to anything behind the snowbank. So
The defenses.
Snowbank being in the yard, actually he said the lawn.
yeah, he's,
Sorry, he talked about the snowbank being in the lawn, not the driveway, correct? That's not what you're saying.
he said he was not paying attention anything past the snowbank being the lawn.
And did not pay too much attention to the lawn area behind the snowbank, correct?
Right, off to that area, right?
Did that raise any suspicions in your mind that Brian Higgins may have been being less than truthful with you?
No.
Getting back to the Waterfall Bar and Grill, you were also aware that Brian Albert was at the Waterfall, correct?
At one point, yes, we learned that.
And you knew that Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were friends with each other. Is that
Catnip, plausible deniability.
right?
We learned that as well, yes.
You've already indicated that you did not seek Brian Higgins's phone records. I may have asked you this, and if I did, I apologize. Did you seek Brian Albert's phone records or an extraction from his phone?
No, we did not.
Why not? Why not? Just tell us why.
Did you look at the entirety of the waterfall video? Did you review the entirety of the waterfall video when you
Right.
first obtained it? Or have you looked at it since?
I have at one point or another viewed the entire video, yes.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, this has already been marked as evidence, but I cannot find it. It's on my notes.
If we were to look it up, then we would get a dumb answer. Like if somebody accidentally choked on it, then it couldn't alive them. So
It's at 22, I'm told. Maybe exhibit that for the, or present that for the jurors.
Yes.
Is this the video we've been waiting for?
And I'm asked to advance this to runtime 8:30
I think it is.
to about 11:08, so a couple of minutes with the court's permission.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and play that. Can we pause it briefly, Mr. Wilk?
Not that this is going to help that much, but
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Can you please, if you can, point for the jurors whether or not you see Brian Higgins in that video?
I'll use the screen in front of me for initial indication. I believe that is Brian Higgins right there.
Can you do me a favor, just so everybody has a perspective? Can you also point to him there? Okay.
There you go, right there. I believe that is Brian Higgins.
Okay. Do you see Brian Albert in that video?
I can't tell you exactly. Maybe if you run it a little bit longer, or zoom it in, I could possibly tell you, but from right here, right now, I cannot.
Sergeant, why don't we play this for a couple of seconds? And if you don't mind, if you get to a point where you recognize the person that you know as Brian Albert, could you just tell me to stop and I'll pause it?
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and play it with the court's permission.
Sure.
Can you pause it?
Stop it.
Go ahead, Sergeant.
Brian Albert is the individual right there. Right there.
Albert
Can you
Higgins.
describe what Brian Albert and, by the way, for the record, Your Honor, the witnesses indicated the person toward the left, right under the 2-9 on the chyron on top, the 29.
Yes.
Can you describe what you see the two individuals, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, doing in this scene?
It looks like they are facing each other, possibly squaring off in a stance.
Can we go ahead and play this forward, please? Can we pause it? Sergeant, did you see either of the two men or both of them squaring off in what you would consider to be a fighting stance?
I guess it could be considered that. I would look more like roughhousing. It's a couple of buddies messing around.
Not suggesting they were actually fighting, but
I
a fighting
reminded.
stance.
Yeah, no, they were not fighting, no.
Go ahead and play it.
Higgins and Albert. No, they haven't, Cindy. Can't make it out to tell.
Can you pause it? Sergeant, do you happen to see in this shot, just for orientation, do you see my client, Ms. Reed?
I'm sorry, I was paying attention to the two gentlemen.
That's fair. That's kind of an unfair question. Could you, if we play this a few more seconds, could you look around, scan around, and tell me if you see someone that you believe is my client?
Yes, I will try.
Let's go ahead and play.
She's at the bar.
and pause it. Do you see anybody that looks like Ms. Reed?
Yes, I believe she's in top left, top right corner of the frame talking to Mr. O'Keefe and I believe two other gentlemen
Long hair?
on your client?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and play this up to 11:08, please.
I see it too.
Is that up to 11:08? Okay, thank you. We can take that one down briefly. This is,
I know.
if we've had the lights.
I was trying to give you guys a better view.
Sergeant, this is at the waterfall just before midnight on January 29th, 2022, correct? What you just saw.
That footage is from the waterfall just before midnight on 28th.
I'm sorry, my mistake. On the January 28th, 2022.
Correct.
Going into midnight, January 29th, 2022.
Yes, sir.
All right. This would be just minutes before everyone headed out of the waterfall and went back towards Fairview, correct?
Not everyone. The band didn't go to the Fairview.
Well, obviously, I'm not talking about the band or the bartenders. I'm talking about Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, John O'Keefe, Karen Reed, those folks. Correct?
It's before some of those individuals left the bar and headed to 34 Fairview.
If we could push to runtime 16:35, 17:22, while you're queuing that up, did you see, after I asked you the initial time about the stance that the two men were taking, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, did you see them continue to take what could be reasonably described as a fighting stance toward each other, even in jest?
They were squaring off and roughhousing, yeah.
Okay, what does squaring off mean?
Facing an opponent in like wrestling or a martial art, I guess.
Hands up?
He has
Yes,
to, Taylor.
yes, squaring off, yeah.
If he doesn't, then he's a really, really sad person.
You are former military
Yes,
and current law enforcement.
yes.
Is hand-to-hand fighting taught in both military and paramilitary organizations like law enforcement?
I had hand-to-hand combat training in the Marine Corps. I had defensive tactics in law enforcement capacity in the Marine Corps, federal, local, and state academies.
Are you aware that Brian Albert is former military?
Objection.
Hi, Tara. How are you?
I am aware that Brian Albert is former military.
And Brian Albert was also a Boston police officer.
The same guy, Sergeant Yuri. He was Michael Proctor's supervisor, state police.
I am aware of that as well, yes.
Are you aware that Brian Higgins was
Thank you,
former
Tara.
military and a combat veteran?
Now I am, yes.
And are you aware that Brian Higgins, at the time this was taken, this video was taken, was also a federal law enforcement agent?
I was aware, yes, I was,
Okay.
yeah.
If we can go ahead and run at 16:35 to 17:22 with the court's permission?
Okay.
Fuck. Oops.
If you can pause it.
Why are they?
Can you describe for the jurors what you see Brian Albert and Brian Higgins doing in this footage?
based on my understanding, it looks like he's giving him the Heimlich maneuver or
As if
abdominal thrust, I guess. I don't know what he's doing.
Brian Albert's got his hands around Brian Higgins, correct?
That's what it looks like from here. I have no idea what he's doing.
Could it be described as wrestling or grappling?
It could be
I
defined
guess,
as
yeah.
a lot of things,
Let's go and
AJ.
play.
Guys, do me a favor. Try not to use the K
Thank you.
word in the
If we can take
chat.
that down.
TikTok sensitive.
During the course of reviewing this video, or the entirety of the video, not just the clips that you just reviewed, did you see where John O'Keefe was, generally speaking?
Wait, I'm going to give you the attention you so rightfully deserve. OMG, TikTok attorneys, laugh out loud, blocked. Well, thank you for taking the time to type all that because that interaction actually helps. So thank you. And I'm glad you blocked me because now I don't have to block your ass.
Relative to Brian Higgins and Brian Albert?
Throughout the entire time?
He wasn't standing still, I understand that, but generally, was he standing with them or was he closer to the bar in the back of the video?
I believe after Mr. O'Keefe
You got that
arrived and
one quick.
embraced a few people with hugs, I guess if I had to estimate, most of the time he was on the other side of the table, which would be closest to the bar area.
And after you saw Mr. O'Keefe walk in and greet everybody with salutations, did you ever see him interacting
Thank
with
you,
Brian Higgins and
Samantha.
Brian Albert throughout the evening again? On this video?
On this video, I did not know.
I'd like to play runtime, one more clip, Your Honor, runtime 1915 to 1957, about 45 or 50 seconds.
Lisa, I'm going to use that one. I'm going to use that one. Thank you. Here we go.
Can you pause it? Just to orient the jurors, can you see any individuals that you earlier described, Brian Higgins, Brian Albert, John O'Keefe, Karen Reed, any of those individuals in this clip as yet? Or do we need to play it a little further?
I would need you to play it a little bit further, please.
Is it possible, with the court's permission, to zoom in on the upper portion of the video?
Here it is, guys. This is going to be it, I
You can
think.
center that just a little bit to the
Thank you,
right.
Samantha.
Other way. There we go. Thank you. And if we could go ahead and play that from 1915 to about 1957. Pause it. Do you recognize the three people center screen now?
I really can't make it out. I would have to be assuming,
don't
or
want you to assume.
guessing. I can't make it out
Okay, let's
to
play,
identify each individual. If
let's
you
play it forward if we can.
I think you'll get it in a minute.
At this point, go ahead and pause it. At this point, can you make out any individuals?
Yes,
Okay.
at this point, I can say that that looks like Brian Higgins in the middle of the three gentlemen.
What is he wearing?
It looks like a hooded sweatshirt.
Okay. And the person to his, sorry, let's do it from your perspective or the juror's perspective. The person to the left of Brian Higgins.
I believe that's Brian Albert.
And the person to the right of Brian Higgins.
To the right from my perspective.
Yes, sir.
Yep. I believe that's Chris Albert, but I'm not positive.
So
I'm not
Chris
positive.
is this one.
Stop. Did you see Brian Higgins just do something?
I was not paying attention to his gesture. We have to replay that, please.
Does it appear he's looking a particular direction?
He is looking in a particular direction based on that frame,
I
yes.
know.
Is that toward the bar area?
My ESPN was on overdrive.
It's in that direction. I don't know exactly where he's looking, whether he's looking at the bar, to the right of the bar. I can't tell from this.
Okay, okay. And John O'Keefe, you indicated earlier that John O'Keefe, that's where you saw him most of the video, toward the bar area, to the right of the bar.
If you scroll to, push the screen to the right, I can tell you where Mr. O'Keefe is.
It's my ESPN.
With the court's permission.
Yes.
Do you see Mr. O'Keefe in that group of people?
I cannot make him out. Could you play the video? Maybe he is behind an individual.
Let's go back to, if with the court's permission, I'd like to go back to the full video, and let's play it from here.
Why'd they try to stop Higgins? Come on, let's go. He's trying to get somebody to go with him. Come on, let's go.
Pause it. Could you see what was happening with Brian Higgins?
He was gesturing to someone. I was trying to see Mr. O'Keefe. We were talking about Mr. O'Keefe, so
Understood.
I apologize.
Understood. With the court's permission, could I play the video one more time with it focused on the other side of the bar?
Okay.
Thank you. Last time.
Can you tell me who to focus on, please,
Yes.
so I'm not looking for
Yes,
the
Yuri
wrong person?
is a lot more cooperative now. You're right.
Pause it. Do you see John O'Keefe there?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you point to where he is for the jurors, please, on both television?
Mr. O'Keefe is right there wearing the sweatshirt, multi-tone gray sweatshirt with the hood on it and his hat.
And
And
the
this
other TV?
right there. He's appears to be at the bar paying the bill.
Okay. With this perspective,
No,
could we
right
just
here,
go ahead
I'm
and play
sorry.
that, the 30 or 45 seconds one more time? But please focus on Mr. O'Keefe.
And then you see Brian O'Keefe's or John O'Keefe's head turned to the directions to where Higgins and Albert are. He is watching them.
Pause it. Do you see where Mr. O'Keefe is looking at this point?
Yes.
Where is he looking? What direction?
Mr. Higgins, he's
Well, from
looking
this
for
vantage point, it
Higgins.
looks like he's looking to the left on the screen at the individual he's appears to be conversing with.
Okay, go ahead and play it. Pause it. And what about now?
Same individual.
Okay.
He's still engaged in conversation.
Thank you so much, Jody.
Pause it. And what about now?
He's taking a sip of beer
Right, which direction is he looking?
The same
in
direction.
the same direction.
Okay,
He's still looking at them. Other people are saying, come on.
and go ahead and pause it. We could go back out to the full screen. At this point, does it appear in the video that Brian Higgins, Brian Albert, Chris Albert have all left the bar?
There's someone standing across the table from Mr. O'Keefe to his rear. I don't know who that is, so I can't testify to that. The others have left.
Given this perspective, now that we've seen both of them zoomed, do you have an opinion as to whether or not it appeared that Mr. Higgins was gesturing toward John O'Keefe just before he left the bar?
Yeah.
Given this perspective, he might have been. I don't know who was gesturing at.
Okay, we can have the lights up. We'll take that down. I want to change gears for a second. Let me ask one more series of questions, if I could, Sergeant. What we've just seen was literally Brian Higgins, leaving Waterfall to go to a different location. What was the location they were headed to, based on your investigation?
They were heading to 34 Ferry Road.
And shortly thereafter, who else followed to go over to 34 Fairview?
I'm sorry, you said Chris Albert?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't, okay.
No.
Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, they went to 34 Fairview, and then Mr. O'Keefe also traveled there.
Thank you. I want to shift gears, if I could, to another video. Did you review certain ring videos, specifically relative to One Meadows, the outdoor ring video servicing the carport area?
Yes, I have reviewed those videos.
If we could, Your Honor, just a moment.
If he's taking a moment, I'm
This
taking
has
a moment. I
previously
gotta
been
pee.
marked as 12A.
Come on, I have to go.
If we could, with the court's permission, zoom in on the Chevy Traverse in the upper left-hand, the vehicle in the upper left-hand corner of the video.
Okay.
Pause it. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the upper left-hand corner. Okay, go ahead and play. Pause. Did you see anything happen with the left rear tire of the
She hit
other
him.
car in the driveway?
She hit the car, I mean.
Which car are you talking about?
The highlighted portion, the parked car, which is the left rear tire that's zoomed in on.
I wasn't paying attention to the tire. Can you play it again, please?
With the
Love
court's
that,
permission?
Sergeant.
Let's try that one more time.
I'm just pointing at the tire now. That's where we need to look. Yep. You see the moment.
Pause it. Okay, you can take that down. Did you see anything happen with that left rear tire of the Chevy Traverse?
Based on that video, it appears there might have been movement there.
Last year, and you've seen this video several times, correct?
I have.
You saw it during the course of your investigation, not just in the course of proceedings, correct?
Right.
Last year, you indicated that you observed the vehicle, Miss Reed's vehicle, come near Mr. O'Keefe's car. Which one in that video was Mr. O'Keefe's car?
The Chevy Traverse.
And that would be the car that was parked
We gotta
and
stick with that,
static,
Amanda.
not moving, correct?
Correct.
Having seen this, do you still believe that the SUV came near the Chevy Traverse, or do you believe it struck the Chevy Traverse?
With the clarity of that video, there is a lot of movement in the shot.
Thank God I didn't
Not
get
with
to
great
go to the bathroom.
certainty. It appeared that there was movement of the tire, but I cannot say with 100% certainty that there was movement.
You can't say with 100% certainty that that tire literally shifted and wiggled upon some sort of impact.
Based on the video, there appeared to have been movement.
Okay. You had this video for the first 3 years of your investigation. You had this video very early on, correct?
That's correct.
And for the first several years of your investigation, did you either deny, well, let me ask it this way. Was it your assessment that the SUV did not contact that Chevy Traverse?
My assessment with the totality of it all was that based on the video, there was no damage that occurred to either vehicle at that point in time.
That wasn't my question, Sergeant. My question was your assessment that there was no contact between the two vehicles? Is that what you assessed in the course of your investigation?
I did not assess that there was no contact, no.
Even as recently as last year, you testified in another proceeding that the SUV came close to the Chevy Traverse, correct?
Yes, I said there's a lot of movement in that shot. It's difficult to tell
Oh, for
if
the
there
love of
was more for me to observe and push that certainty level up. I would have testified differently.
As you've seen the video enhanced, zoomed in on, do you wish to amend that testimony from last year?
Yes, do you wish to amend it?
Sure. Given what you've just seen, what is your testimony now about whether or not that SUV struck the Chevy Traverse?
There is movement of the tire. There is movement.
Movement of the tire. Could be an earthquake, could be someone standing there and pushing the car. I'm asking you, based on what you just saw in this video, do you believe that the SUV struck the Chevy Traverse?
Come on, you could do this.
Logically speaking, the two vehicles had to have come into contact for the tire to move.
They have to have collided, correct?
At a slow speed, yes.
Which area of the SUV collided with the Chevy Traverse? The front, the rear?
It appears from the video it's the right rear area of the Lexus SUV that comes into contact with the Traverse.
What time was this video taken?
I believe that is at 5:07 a.m., if I'm not mistaken.
This is a great time to use that mic drop sticker, guys.
Thank you, Sergeant. I want to change gears again, if I could, and ask you about a dog. You're aware that the Alberts, Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, had a dog that they named Chloe on on January 28th, 29th of 2022, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow the question. Were you aware of that?
At what point in time, sir?
Coincidentally, he just happened to take another drink before another difficult question. I'm sort of feeling like we need a Chloe sticker at this point.
January 28th, 29th, that area.
Was I aware that they owned a dog on January 28th or 29th?
No.
Taylor.
Are you aware now that on January 28th or 29th, they owned a dog? There was a dog in the house.
Now I am aware, yes.
Okay. During the course of your investigation, you learned that, correct?
Yes.
During the course of your investigation, did you also become aware that the Alberts got rid of their family dog?
Objection.
I'm going to see you at sidebar on this, please.
Sure.
Since they're taking a sidebar, I'm going to run to the bathroom. I have to go so bad. I'm sitting here dancing in my chair, holding the thing up to the screen. I cannot believe. Okay, but maybe they'll decide to throw out the case by the time I come back. Maybe. Who knows?
That is some shit. Which means everything that they have collected has been falsified. Which basically means they have you fucking caged. Why doesn't them they showed it to the police officer?
They had to say it 15 different ways for him to admit that he saw the fire move. You see the fire move in the driveway. Show him the stripe.
That basically knows their entire case.
Hurry up and get dressed. I have to hurry, man. Okay, who knows? I doubt it though. I actually made it back before they did. Now, wouldn't it be something if they came back and they had to throw out the case? How's long to fire this jerk? Ban who? What? I was like gone for a minute. What happened? Sidebar. Can we ban Hank? I mean, possibly, but Bev initiated this sidebar. It's a pretty long sidebar. Okay, wait, we're back. Here we go.
They no longer care
Wait.
for the dog.
Hold on. It's hard getting it exactly on time. We're gonna have to settle for here. Oh, good, perfect. I don't know, Stormy, because we didn't watch the first trial.
I think I forgot where I left off. May I, Your Honor? Thank you. Sergeant, at some point during the course of your investigation, did you learn that the Albert family had gotten rid of the dog named Chloe?
Oh, duh, sorry, guys.
We learned that they no longer care for the dog. I don't know if get rid of is accurate.
Well, they don't have it anymore, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what would you call it?
Sweet cheese.
Giving
and
it up for adoption, I
crackers.
guess? I don't know. I'm not a pet owner.
Okay, I'm just pointing this out for the record. My hair dryer is in a box on the couch behind me. Mila's sitting next to it. It just fell off of it on its own. It's heavy.
What if they didn't give it up for adoption?
I'm sorry?
What if they didn't give it up for adoption?
Rehomed, I guess?
Okay, so it's no longer with them, right?
Correct. They no longer own the dog.
Okay, so they got rid of it. It's like you get rid of a car, right?
Only occasionally.
Right?
You can get rid of a car, yeah?
Okay. And you can get rid of a dog. That's all I'm asking.
Yes, you can get rid of a dog, yes.
Okay. At some point during the course of your investigation, did you find out that the Albert family got rid of Chloe?
We learned that they no longer owned Chloe, yes.
Okay. When did you learn that?
If he says I don't remember. home you have jury duty, Ken.
I cannot tell you exactly. I can tell you when we looked into it officially.
Okay, tell
When
us
did
that then.
you look into it officially?
I traveled to the dog's home and assisted with identifying the dog and investigating that animal.
Okay.
Hold on. So you can put the time in to investigate the animal, but you can't put the time in to investigate Higgins or the McAlberts? What the hell?
What documentation
Nala agrees.
did you use to identify that animal?
He knows where the dog
It
is.
was veterinary records.
I'll stop you there. Veterinary records from whom? From the Albert family? From the
I did not get any veterinary records from the Albert family.
veterinary records that you did get were veterinary records that had been utilized with the Albert name? Where were these veterinary records from?
The veterinary records were with the vet that's caring for the dog and also owns the dog now.
Okay.
And those records also had been dated prior to when the dog was owned by the Alberts.
Okay. So, other than some veterinary records that, and by the way, the dog's
So Chloe is still alive.
not even named Chloe, correct?
The new owners renamed the dog, yes.
Cora?
That's correct.
And the new
Cora.
owners did not get that dog from Brian and Nicole Albert, did they?
No, they did not.
They got it from a separate person. Is that right?
That is correct.
He's pissed that he has to
Separate
admit
person
that.
named Riley?
That's her last name, yes.
And did this person Riley have any records showing purchase of Chloe or adoption of Chloe from the Alberts?
No.
Can't make this shit up, you guys.
You did write a report about the newest owner of this animal, this dog, correct?
I
Yes,
documented my trip to the location and the steps I took and services I provided in the investigation.
And
And what were those?
In that report, you omitted the name of the new owner?
I'm not sure.
Give him the report
Did
to
you omit
refresh his
the
memory.
location of where you actually came in contact with this animal?
You're gonna have to show me my report. I don't remember.
They're not big on a lot of things, but they're big on leaf blowers.
Yes.
He doesn't remember anything that's not convenient. Hi, Lisa. Oh my God, amazing court today. Sadly amazing. It shouldn't be like a movie, but it is like a movie. But somebody's life is being changed forever, and somebody already lost their life, and they're not even gonna do due diligence to properly investigate it. And stop and shop bags. Don't forget the stop and shop bags. Those are important pieces of evidence. It's evidentiary 101, people. This is the Canton Evidence 101 kit right there. Don't worry, I put it up when I'm done with the live every day. I put up that live on YouTube. It's on my YouTube, Michelle's Criminal Musings. Right?
Okay, I apologize about that.
No problem.
I'm the one slowing us down just a little bit. May I approach?
Yes.
Did this, reviewing your report, refresh your recollection as to whether or not the new owner's identifying information? And is that information in the report?
No, it is not.
You've got, there are some veterinary records that you supplied along with your report, correct?
Yes.
That you gathered?
I'm sorry, what was
That you
it?
gathered along while you were doing?
Yes, yes.
Mayor Coach?
Yes.
I can't with Canton PD either. They're
Thank you.
trying to cover up so many big things. I'm about to find out. He doesn't remember what he put in his own
Do
report.
those appear to be the veterinary records that you gathered related to this animal?
Yes, it does.
Do any of those records, any of the veterinary records, the 4 pages that you're holding, even include the name Cora or the name of the new owner?
Do 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 do. Come on, guy. That's the $1 million question. Why?
I browsed through it and no, it does not appear that Cora or the new owner are included in any of these 4 pages.
May I approach?
Yes.
And Cora is Chloe's new name for anybody that missed it.
You don't have any transfer records for Chloe, correct?
All the records that are provided by the owner.
I'm going to go through a series of questions, Sergeant. If you can answer it yes or no, that might make it go a little faster. You don't have any transfer records, correct?
I wouldn't know what it looks like. That's why it's even quicker me telling you that that's all the records that I have.
Okay. I want to answer my question. You
Okay.
don't have any transfer records.
I don't know what a transfer record would look like, so
the
I
answer
can't.
is no.
I don't know.
Okay. You don't have any rehoming records.
I don't know.
You don't have any purchase records.
I don't know.
The only records you do have are those 4 pages of veterinary records that don't have the name Cora and don't have the new owner's name. Correct?
That's correct.
You would agree, shifting gears for a second, that timely report writing obviously is an important aspect of any investigation, correct?
It is important, but we can only write reports as feasibly and possibly we're capable of doing.
You read my
Sometimes
mind,
investigations are rapid, so you can't write a report. You take notes, and it's some time goes by before you actually document the information on an official report. The information's there, it's gathered, it's maintained by the investigator, it's shared, it's acted on at times, but the official reports might take some time to write.
So obviously, if you're, like you said, things are fast moving in an investigation. It might be that you interview a witness on a Tuesday, you're super busy on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It might be Friday.
Take that
before you
drink.
Sit down and draft a report about that interview that you did on Tuesday, correct?
Different circumstances dictate differently.
That would be completely wrong.
Yes, it is.
But most of the time, it's best practices, and you're taught, and you teach your subordinates, that it's best practices to reduce to writing and memorialize a report as close in time to the event in question that's being memorialized as you can, right? That's perfect world.
In a perfect world, we'd write it as it's happening.
I hope they do, but they
Are
don't
you
have the
aware
name.
that more than 20 official police reports in this case were not recorded for more than 100 days from the time that the event in question was done,
Thank you.
was being memorialized?
I did not know the exact date and delay.
Are you aware that there are 11 reports that are more than 300 days from the time of the event that was being memorialized?
I was not aware, no.
Are you aware that there are 3 reports that are more than 400 days from the time of the event that was being memorialized?
I am not aware, no.
Are you aware that there are 4 reports that are more than 500 days from the time of the event that's being memorialized?
I am not aware, no.
500.
Are you aware that the longest delay of any report in this investigation was 581 days?
I am not aware of that, no.
He got the short straw, Sarah, in my opinion.
You became aware early on in your investigation of 2 individuals named Ricky D'Antano and Heather Maxon, correct?
They are witnesses, yes.
Both Ricky D'Antano and Heather Maxon, you learned, were outside 34 Fairview in the early morning hours of January 29th, correct?
We did learn within our investigation at some point, yes.
And you learned, Sergeant, very early on in that investigation because you interviewed Ryan Nagel in February of 2022. It's just days after the event, correct?
I'm not sure of the exact date.
Obviously, as you just said, you became aware that Ricky D'Antano and Heather Maxon were witnesses in your homicide investigation, important witnesses, you'd agree, correct?
They were witnesses.
You learned that they arrived at the house at 34 Fairview sometime after Karen Reed and John O'Keefe arrived and pulled up behind their parked SUV, correct?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
Can you repeat that, please?
Sure, you learned that where they fit into the investigative puzzle is that they pulled up behind Karen Reed's SUV when Karen Reed and John O'Keefe arrived at 34 Fairview. They pulled up sometime after that and pulled up right behind them, correct?
That's not correct.
What is not correct about that?
They arrived simultaneously. Karen Reed took a right onto Fairview. They yielded to them and followed towards 34 Fairview, stopping at the driveway as Karen Reed proceeded further up.
Did you listen to the testimony in this case up to this point?
No.
There's a sequestration order, correct? Right?
Yes, yes.
Means you can't listen to the testimony of witnesses, eyewitnesses who are testifying in front of these jurors.
Correct, yes.
You don't know how witnesses have testified from that witness box in front of these jurors, correct?
I have no idea.
Okay. So your information is that they pulled up simultaneously, correct?
Is that what you just testified to?
That's my memory from what the interview produced.
The same name, Michelle's Criminal Musings. The link's in my bio.
You certainly knew that there were eyewitnesses to the condition and the location of Miss Reed's SUV, correct?
Yes, from their interviews, yes.
And you also are aware that they would have been in a position to see the occupants of Miss Reed's SUV as they were behind it and then pulled around it, correct? Objection.
Sustained.
Thank you for the
Did you
follows.
become aware that they were in a position behind the SUV and as they pull around it, they could still see the SUV? Objection.
Sustained.
You knew what potential role they played in your investigation as eyewitnesses, correct? Generally?
When we interviewed them, when we learned of their existence, when we interviewed them, we collected information based on their recollection.
Okay. My question was, you're aware that they had a certain perspective as it relates to the SUV that night, early morning hours, right?
Based on their interviews, they had a perspective with the brake light being on constantly.
I'm not asking you what they said. I'm asking you if during the course of your investigation, you learned that Ricky D'Antonio and Heather Maxson had a perspective. They were eyewitnesses to certain things. As
Yes.
relative to the SUV, correct?
Yes.
You're free, Lisa.
You instructed your subordinate, Michael Proctor, to interview those witnesses in August of 2022, correct?
I'm not sure when they were interviewed. I don't have a memory of instructing him to go interview them.
That speaks more on you, buddy. Not in a good way.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Thank you.
Take a look at that document and tell me if you, why don't you just tell me if that, whether or not that refreshes your recollection as to communications you had with Michael Proctor specifically.
My understanding is yes. I do think she did. The question is, do they now?
Thank you, Sergeant. Does that refresh your recollection as to a conversation, or I'm sorry, a communication that you had with Michael Proctor?
Unfortunately, it does not. I will take the document at face value. I do not have a memory of having these communications, but I will take the document if it's authentic and it is true and accurate that it took place. But I do not have a memory of sending these text messages.
Don't know, didn't watch it.
Yes.
Also, my name's misspelled in there. Is that from the extraction or where is that from?
Couldn't tell you. Wasn't me.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I can't take credit for that. Thanks. If your memory is not refreshed about that particular communication, do you remember in general communicating with Michael Proctor about interviewing Ricky D'Antonio and Heather Maxson?
I do not know. I'm sorry.
Would that have been something that you would have found important relatively early on in the investigation? Yep, these are eyewitnesses. Let's get them interviewed.
Yes, it is. It is important to interview anyone that's an eyewitness. Sometimes it takes longer because. Are you listening? I'm sorry.
Thanks.
You asked the question. I just wanted to answer.
I know the answers to my questions. Go ahead.
Okay. So while we want to interview every eyewitness, sometimes an important fact is already detailed and witnessed by another witness. So in this situation, we had already interviewed one of the occupants, the one that was driving, the one that had the observed the events taking place, and we asked him if we were going to talk to the other two, would they have the same recollection, observations? Did they leave the vehicle to go in the house at all? Anything like that? Anything different? So that's.
Okay, so it would be important, obviously, to interview witnesses in a timely manner.
In some instances, yes, yes.
Do you remember when Trooper Proctor actually interviewed Ricky D'Antonio and, I'm sorry, when Michael Proctor interviewed Ricky D'Antonio and Heather Maxson?
I do not have a memory of that, no. I'm sure a report would
Sadly, that's
indicate
how it
when.
seems. How is this guy? I can't.
Like I said, lucky he's not mine. Okay, well, I would have fired him.
They took 5 vacation days away from him.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I would have fired him.
I may have misspoken.
I don't
So
know.
take a look at that. I thought that was a report from somebody else. It's a report from you, actually. Tell me if that refreshes your recollection.
He
as to
forgot
when
his own
Ricky
report.
D'Antonio was actually interviewed.
Yes, this report, authored by me, was, states that on Saturday, September 2nd,
I agreed.
he was interviewed.
What year?
2023.
So that would have been a year and a half later, correct?
Yes.
Do you believe that's a timely?
That was the report before.
Or rather, a timely interview for an eyewitness, the gravity of which is described.
Hey,
in the report?
listen.
We again, perfect ideal world scenario, it would be quicker.
So that would be, no excuses, I'm not throwing barbs, but that would be untimely, correct? Year and a half later.
Thank you,
We
Allison.
do the best we can.
You indicated that your memory was that the cars arrived simultaneously. That's a interview with Ricky D'Antonio. You see the highlighted portion?
The Emmy wouldn't rule that it was a homicide.
I see it.
Ricky D'Antonio actually told you that the car was
Objection.
parked, correct?
Objection.
The objection sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach the
Yes, can I see that, please?
Sidebar. What's the matter, Hank? You didn't have that already?
Of course they wouldn't. They wouldn't want information that would
I was
cause a mistrial. No, would they?
I was hoping when they turned the camera to the family that we would see them changing their minds, but they don't look uncomfortable with any of this. I can't get us any further ahead.
It means you guys caught up.
No, I mean without ruining it.
Quote, a dark-colored SUV was parked in front of the home facing up towards Chapman Street. That's what it told you, correct?
That's what the report indicates for Ricky's interview, yes.
And in fact, you wrote this report based on Ricky's interview.
I wrote that report, yes.
Thank you. If I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Call Guinness. It might be a record.
Your Honor, I'm just about to.
Why don't we come to sidebar, no, from the floor?
Another sidebar.
Monday, I'm going to ask you all to come in at 10, so we'll start at 10 o'clock on Monday, and we will go a full day Monday. We'll leave every day next week, meetings and a whole day. So we will see you next week, those same cautions. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know. Be very careful with your social media use and we'll have you on Monday at 10. So I don't need that.
She really did leave
Goodbye.
us on a cliffhanger. Typical Bev. Well, we actually did catch up today. I don't know what to say after all that.
Kind of crazy.
The cliffhanger about doing the report of interviewing the two people that, were there when Karen was outside with John. Let's do a quick vote, guys. After everything that you've heard from today and before, if you think that Karen Read is innocent, tap the smile face. If you think she's guilty, tap the cry face.
Is Karen Read a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
I'm gonna go with the latter, Vinny.
Wait, what was the smiley face?
The smiley face is innocent. There's new details on Brian Koberger. The judge is considering the removal of the DA and the Menendez brothers. Well, I think that is what you would call not guilty. All of you. Wow. Okay. Well, let's hear what this Brian Koberger update is first. I want to hear what it is.
Just the people who are on the inside, and there are very good sources about what's happened here in Idaho. So
I'm thinking that too.
we're familiar with a good deal of the evidence that the state will bring against Brian Koberger. His attorney is not speaking yet, but we have, a lot of this material that the prosecution will rely on, I think, to try and. I don't know. I don't know. We can't say that we have it all, but we have a lot of it, and we almost have a timeline of his movements and the movements of the killer, whether it was him or not.
I don't know, because we've been in court all day. This is my first time trying to look and see what the new information is.
In the days, hours, minutes leading up to the murder and afterwards.
You also have a couple of interviews from people that we haven't heard from before.
We have. I mean, we've heard from some of the people who
It's my opinion that Scott Peterson did it.
met Brian Koberger early on, as soon as he moved to Pullman, Washington. And he went to a pool party, for example, and there was an incident at the pool party which was just kind of strange and unsettling for the people who were there.
Can we just get the information, sir?
He worried a couple of the women who were by the pool. One of them tried to get her husband involved, but he just seemed not to be aware of social cues. So there was that. And then, one of the other people there then ran into him.
Do I think Brian Koberger? I think he did it. I just am not certain that he did it alone. I'm still trying to figure that part out. Hold on, they're making me do a puzzle thingy. Okay.
Later on a hike and was puzzled by the fact that he was walking alone into the night when everybody else was getting out of this area that they were hiking in because it was nighttime. And then we discovered, of course, that he was somebody who loved the nighttime and was out at night all the time.
Interesting.
Walking around, looking around.
Right. Well, Well, that was, I think, one of the points his defense attorneys made early on, that he was out driving, looking at the stars at night, the night of the murders.
We do know that he was searching Ted Bundy, and he was also looking up graping corn.
Yes, and there, and that might be an answer that satisfies. I don't know, but you have to have some comeback to the fact that it's glaringly obvious that he spent a great deal of time alone in the dark during his time there.
Tell me about this video that of a car that may have been his, or a car that looks similar to his, that you all have obtained.
Well, it's a car that the authorities believe was his, the white Elantra that we've heard so much about. You see the video. It's really quite remarkable video. It shows the period leading up to
Thank you, Julie.
the murders, just before this car kind of approaches. And by the way, the camera is on a neighboring house. You can't quite see 1122 from this house, but you can see the movements of the car as it's heading down into this kind of control
What time
area
is
where
Dateline?
1122 is. And it's going around and around, and every 3 minutes
It is, Kathy. Explosively so.
or so, the car will kind of come around and go away again, and then come back and then go away again, as if something
The jury did see she was innocent. That's why she's getting retried this current time.
is
9 Eastern, so 8.
casing
Thank you,
the
Jill.
house or is trying to make up his mind about something. Certainly the authorities believe it was the killer. They are accusing Brian Koberger of being that person.
Thank you, Julie.
But then what we see is the car pulls in to what would have to be 1122 King Road and disappears like it's parked. 13 minutes later, it reappears, going hell-bent for leather around the corner and out of sight, and isn't seen again. So the
Double jeopardy is a little bit tricky. It really honestly is. Hold on. It's thinking. Hold on. In the context of double jeopardy, if a defendant is found not guilty to a crime, they cannot be tried again for that same offense. The principle is rooted in the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution, which states that no one should be put in danger of losing their life or freedom more than once for the same offense. Once jeopardy attaches and a criminal case begins, the protection can prevent lives from being consumed by legal proceedings. It can also save government's time and money. The double jeopardy clause applies regardless of the severity in the alleged offense and protects against a retrial for all kinds of felonies. Okay, so now we need to know what were Karen Reed's trial charges the first time. There's always a loophole of some kind, it seems.
They probably charged her.
Let's
with a different
see.
crime.
Oh yeah, I could look up. Oh shit, I can't look up the charges though. I can look up the meaning of double jeopardy, but I can't look up the charges. You're right. Good catch. Thank you. I can't look up her other charges. It violates the oath of virtual juror. Sorry, guys.
authorities are pretty convinced that this is a video of the killer in his car making up his mind. The 13 minutes where the car is not visible to the camera is when the murders are occurring, and then afterwards you see the car drive away.
And we're going to see that tonight.
We will see it, yes.
So clearly just watching this is just going to make us want to watch Dateline even more. So watch Dateline tonight, guys. Let's see what else we have here. Diddy and Drake in hot water, mega lawsuits. Interesting. I think she did too. Well, baby.
She's trying to get more tea for EATs.
I know. Life is hard as a kitty cat. The FAA forces ground stop at Newark Airport after outage. They had a 90-second outage this morning. The Menendez brothers' attorneys rescind the motion to have the LA County DA kicked off of the resentencing case. I know that they were given a new trial date. Does anybody remember off the top of their head what it was? I know life is so hard. Again at Newark, yes. Nala, you're calling the other kitties. All right, Sandra sent this. Diddy's defense team tells the judge that he and Cassie were both mutually violent. Diddy's defense team is leaning in hard that the music mogul was abusive towards his ex Cassie, but she was no angel either, because she allegedly got violent with him too. Day 4 of the Diddy trial saw prosecutor Emily Ann Johnson and Diddy's attorney Mark, and I can never say his last name, having an interesting exchange with Judge, I cannot say that name, in a New York City federal courtroom. It kicked off with Johnson telling the judge that victim 1, who is believed to be Cassie, will not be cross-examined about certain medical issues. Judge then said if prosecutors open the door on the rest of the issues, the defense can walk through it and cross-examine the witnesses. That's when Agnifilio, whatever his name is, said to the defense, is going to take the position that there was mutual violence in their relationship, hitting on both sides. He added, we are obviously going to admit to domestic violence, but at what point does it become coercive? So the judge wants to say, and quote, you're arguing that they are just violent? And he responded, right, we're saying it's relevant. Johnson said he could submit she would submit a letter to the court on this topic. And going on to say she planned to offer 2 cell phone videos and the corrected CNN footage of the infamous 2016 beating Diddy gave Cassie. Okay, Allison sent us the date. What is our date? May 13th. May 13th and 14th. So just next week, okay? I won't let me read any further because I don't have it. 13th and 14th. Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. I'm just looking to see if we missed any other important headlines while we were in court. I think we're good, guys. Even if we weren't, my whole feed is obviously taken up by Karen Reed stuff because of what we're watching. The New Jersey mayor was arrested. No idea why. No idea who it even is, so I'm just telling y'all for y'all. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it, guys. The FAA forces ground stops at Newark Airport is the only big thing I'm seeing right now. Have a great weekend and happy Mother's Day to you guys as well. Yeah, I'm gonna call it. That's it. It's a wrap. So thank you guys, and thank you mods for being here all week. I really appreciate it. And you guys have a good weekend. Happy Mother's Day in advance. I will see you guys at Monday at 11 Central Standard Time. Bye, guys. Good night.